What's going on here, guys? Doing another video fine-tuning the board, the generator board. I discovered that just adding these balls, these balls, all you do is put them on top of the receiver coil. It's not connected in any way, and just doing that, I think, causes them to act as a virtual ground, and it allows the receiver coils to output much more power. The output at the receiver coils are now about it's almost 3 amps at 40 volts DC, and we combine the output of the receivers, and that's what we get for power. Our transmitter is consuming 18 watts. As you see, I'll disconnect the load. The combined output of the receivers are running this load. I disconnect, and there's that interesting phenomena again where you can tell everything is tuned, because when you run a heavy load, your input wattage drops by a watt or two. So I'm running a heavy load, 5 watt, to the point where it hurts. It's probably 10 watts there. That burns. And if I were to stick the meter on that, you'd probably see that there's voltage remaining while the load is running, like 10 or 15 volts. So there's the bulb. That's the raw output from the combined receivers. As you see, the wire here. The two receivers are put in parallel. That's how bright the bulb is. I'll remove the capacitively coupled balls, and you'll see the bulb get dimmer. And as you see, the bulb got a little dimmer. And you can also demonstrate that effect by moving your hand along the coil. It'll either dim or brighten the bulb. So I just add the ball up here, not connected in any way, the two of them, and the bulb gets very bright. Like, look, you can see that. Look at that. Oh my god, that's bright. So basically got another free gain in the system. I can't even touch that. That hurts. It's gonna start smoking down there. So, oh, that's hot. Shit. So our transmitter is consuming 18 watts. I'll hook the meter up to it. You'll see a short circuit current. And here's the sparks that come off it. They're more visible now. That's what's coming from the raw receivers. Not even stored into a capacitor yet, because we're taking the raw output from the receivers. And here's the short circuit current of them. 2.3 amps. Now we're only inputting 68 volts at 0.28 amps. Transmitter is consuming 19 watts, 68 volts, 0.2 amps, 10% DC pulse duty cycle. Short circuit current on the receivers is 2.30. I could get that even higher if I move these a little closer. Very all about fine tuning. And look where we're at now. And if you're not careful, certain parts of the board will give me a nasty shock. 2.38 now. So there's our power consumption. We're running the system in medium to high power mode now. Now we will check voltage at the receiver coils. So we have 2.3 amps dead short circuited. And keep in mind, when it's dead short circuited, we still have phenomenal radiant energy with no degradation effects on the system, which is wild. Like, look at this. I'd like the experts of academia to explain that without them foaming at the mouth. You can't do that. Well, really, I'm doing it. So update your theories. So here's an even more weird thing. Explain that effect. Fluorescent bulb is lit at a distant point. And I still have my good short circuit current. We're consuming less than 20 watts. And I'll show you the voltage here. I'll switch the meter to voltage. So our receiver coils, the combined output is giving us 2.3 amps at... And the voltage did increase when adding those capacitive balls. 34. I did have it at 45 at one point. Maybe I have to move this a little bit further away. $34. Okay. So 34 volts at the receivers. DC, because it's all turned to DC. With an output of... $2 amps. So the way you calculate DC power is voltage times current. So you do 2 amps times 35. We'll be generous. We'll do 35 volts times 2 amps, and that's our output power. And as you see, the system is running itself down because I don't have the solar charge controller hooked up. I was fine-tuning the receivers, the output isn't hooked up into the controller, which would keep itself going. So I will now hook it up to the charge controller so it can keep itself going. I will now hook the solar charge controller back up to the system. First I gotta disconnect my meter. Solar charge controller will be hooked back up, and the system will begin to recharge itself. As you see, it is now recharging itself. And it'll say 13 soon. Something with the efficient charge circuitry in the controller really helps as well. This is MPPT. So next I will turn the inverter on. I'll run a load here, and I'll try and bring the system down, and we will watch the recharge effect. So I'm gonna have to plug this in. This wants to fight me. You're gonna have to hold you up kind of like this then while I plug it in. Hopefully you still have a good view. So we're running a 40-watt load. 40-watt. We'll watch the output recharge when I disconnect the load. As you see, the self-recharging effect. Whenever this load is not on, the system self-recharges. Next, I will connect a very heavy light bulb. So this was a 40-watter. Next, I will connect a 200-watt heat light. And my rated capacity here is only, it adds up only to 20 amp hours. So I wouldn't be able to run this thing longer than a half an hour without killing the system. I'm going to screw the heat bulb in. I'm going to run this for, we'll do 5 minutes, and then we'll watch the system recharge itself. Okay, that's screwed in. Oh, that's intense. There's your real output here. And that's heating my feet. Consuming 144 watts. Voltage dropped. Man. Allergies, man, I'm telling you. So I will run this for 5 minutes, shut the load off, and you'll watch it recharge itself. So it is... The video's going on for 10 minutes, 30 seconds now. So at 13, no. At 15, at 16 minutes, I'll shut the load off. It's giving off a slight humming sound. Good old duration test. A lot of people might find this video series boring, but this is more like a film diary series of the device and how it operates that I can then go back and review at any time for study. So keep in mind, when that load is being run, we still maintain wireless power, like phenomenal amounts of it. The system still isn't bogged down in any way. We're able to maintain such extreme radiant energy, even in components you wouldn't expect it to be in. So, which is just impressive. Even in the solar charge controller. Wild. Just gonna move my toolbox because it's a little too much clutter in the shot. Alright, so I'll even move my desk out a little bit so you can see everything. Like, you can't say there's hidden mains anywhere. The skeptics have to eat a fat one on that. So, here we go. Everything's pulled back out to the side. We get a gain in power simply from the earth wire connection. System siphons power out of the earth. And at 16 minutes, I'll shut the load off. This is just lighting up everything. That connects to the ground screw. And for people that think there's live AC in there, you're an idiot. I'm touching it. I'm touching the wire right now. That goes to the ground connection. I'm gonna try and bring this out more. Nice good view of everything. There we go. So, there we go. And I found another wireless light. So this video will really silence the skeptics. The only expensive component in the system is the supercaps. You don't need this exact one to get it to work. You can use just one. Almost any supercap will work that has a value over like 10 farad. I just use a few of them so the system has longevity and you can run larger loads for a longer time. Like, the system would still work with a much smaller supercap, but you'd only be able to run these large loads for like maybe 30 seconds to a minute at a time. But you could still run like LED lighting, charge phones, still make the system self-sustained. Like, you don't have to spend like $600 on capacitors like I did. You could spend like 40 or 50 and you're off running with a small basic system that'll charge phones and run LED lighting. I just did those for what has longevity. And I think the system's slightly recharged while the load is running. It like reaching equilibrium. So at 16, you know what? At 1650, I'll shut it off and we'll watch the recharge effect. And keep in mind, we're consuming real power, 142.2 watts on the output. There's nothing external feeding this device. We're sucking power out of the earth ground. And while that's going, we'll do a quick room tour, because I pulled my little table back from the wall. I'm in a very small room that I converted to my lab. There's no way in hell anything is hidden here. I've devoted 5 years of my life to this research. And recently progress has been very good, thankfully. I hope the progress continues. So I will let this run. I'm going to let this run a while to silence the skeptics. I'm going to let it run for 20 minutes. At the 20-minute video mark, I will shut it off and we'll watch the system recharge. This is a duration test. Now, there's no way in hell I could be doing this with batteries. This is my battery. This is a traditional battery. Look how much bigger and heavier it is compared to the super light cap. Super cap, super light. Like you see how light those are? Battery, much heavier. Very heavy. Super cap. Super light battery. Much more mass. Nothing. I don't feel anything getting hot. System is still trying to self-recharge as the 150 watt load runs. So at the 20-minute mark, I'll shut the load off. We'll see it, the system begin to recharge itself. And this whole area is giving off heat. It's actually kind of nice. A little soothing. Turn this baby on when you're cold and you got light and heat. And I think the mail's here picking up one of my packages to ship to a customer. I'm not shutting this video off. So, 20-minute mark, we will shut the load off and watch it recharge itself. And for those that don't know, you can't really run a 150 watt load off batteries that small. Super caps, baby. And if I left that load on for like an hour, it would kill the system and it wouldn't be able to self-recharge itself. I have to build in some kind of cutoff. But yeah, once I shut that load off, the system will begin to self-recharge itself. The solar charge controller will take the output of the receiver coils and recharge everything, the combined output. It'll take that 2 amp 40 volt output, or was it 35 volt output, and recharge the system. And the efficient solar charge controller circuitry does play a role in having it recharge itself. So I don't like making videos too long. People don't watch them. So again, I'll switch the load off now. I'll just shut the inverter off up here. And we will watch the system recharge itself rather rapidly. And people can't say this is the VI curve of a battery because there's no batteries in this system at the moment. They're just super caps. And we are charging. This whole area of my room is hot now. It's almost like this system recycles energy. If you design a 500 watt system, you'll always be able to run 500 watts. It's like the energy just cycles through the system and it's reusable. So, I ran that load longer than I wanted to, but it was to silence the skeptics. That was a 150 watt load run for over 5 minutes. And it'll say 12.8 any moment now. And a full charge on these super caps, 13.5 volts. This charge controller can't bring them up to 13.5, but it'll bring them up to about 13.2. So keep that in mind. I gotta get a solar charge controller that's hyper efficient that can charge them up to 14 volts ideally, or 13.5. And we'll say 12.8 any moment now. Guys are probably getting annoyed and bored that we're just staring at a charge screen.
What?
What? What'd you say? Oh. It's trying. It'll go up to 12.8 in a moment. If it doesn't hit 12.8 by 25 minutes, I'll just stop the video. Should say 12.8 any moment.
You still recording now?
Mm-hmm. Be done soon. Alright, so this video has gone on long enough. We did go from 12.6 to 12.7. I'll turn the load on again. The load is on now, as you see. It's giving off heat, man, like wow. So again, I'll shut it off and you'll see the recharge effect. Right there. So the system will slowly recharge itself back up to 13 volts, and that's what I want to show. We'll end the video with another walk around the board. That's just my ground wire. So keep that in mind, and thank you, everybody.